Hi, my name's Benji and welcome to Dice vs Cards. Today we're looking at Wildlands, a competitive 2 to 4 player game with area movement where you're going to be moving your miniatures around the board, hand management because you're going to be taking actions with those miniatures with the cards available to you. It also has elements of variable player power where you play as factions with various strengths and weaknesses, and secret unit deployment because you start the game with all your characters hidden from view. This is one part treasure hunting and one part fight to the death. So let's see how this plays and whether this could be the next game for you. So the object of the game is for you to be the first player to gain 5 points. And you're going to gain a point each time you knock out one of your opponent's characters or collect one of your own coloured crystal shards. Now the board comes with 2 sides. Here the dungeon is recommended for the first game, and on the flip side are the ruins, which introduces some minor advanced concepts like high ground and extra rules for line of sight that we're not going to cover here today. Each player is going to then choose their own faction and bring their associated 5 miniatures and 5 character cards. You're then going to randomly draw 10 map cards each, and on each card is a number that associates with a numbered tile on the board. You're then going to pick 5 of those cards that are going to denote where your miniatures are going to start the game unrevealed. So you'll place those map cards face down and the miniature on top of them. The remaining 5 cards are passed to the player to your right, as that's going to denote where that player is going to place their own coloured crystal shards that you're looking to collect. Each player is then going to draw 7 character action cards from the top of their deck, and the first player is going to be the one who has a shard on the lowest numbered tile. So the basic turn structure is fairly straightforward. On your turn you're going to have to reveal at least one unrevealed character. So here we're going to show you where Edith's going to start by flipping the map card and placing her miniature on tile number 10. But we could decide also to reveal Garen's starting location, and he's going to start on tile 21. With those available characters, you're then going to use any or all of the character action cards in your hand. We're going to go through those in a bit more detail in a moment. But once you've completed all the actions you desire, you end your turn by drawing 3 cards, so long as you don't have more than a maximum hand size of 7. So you'll see we've revealed some of the opponent's characters now, and we're going to go through the actions available to each player on their turn. So each player's character action cards are going to have the leftmost column called scowls with symbols on them that correlate to its representative character. So here this wizard's hat is Edith and this owl's head is Hugo. Now the symbol in that leftmost column means you can play that action card to move 1 space with the representative character. Now the secondmost column are called flags, and they attach to a particular character. So here you'll see the owl head, which represents Hugo, will allow you to use this action card as a shield in defence. Now the rest of the symbols can be seen in the card down here. So here we have the melee attack, as I've just mentioned. That's going to allow you to do 1 damage to an opponent's character that's in the same tile as you. The second one is a heavy melee attack, which is the same thing but it does 2 damage. We've then got a ranged attack that deals 1 damage to an enemy within line of sight. We're going to come onto line of sight in a moment. The next one is a heavy ranged attack, and that's going to deal 2 damage as long as it's only up to 2 spaces away. And then this explosion symbol here is an area attack, so it will deal 1 damage to every character in the space that the character's in or an adjacent space. And then you'll see the defensive symbols. Here we have the melee symbol, which can be used in defence against any other melee attack. So for each symbol you use there, whilst you're being attacked, will negate one of the attacker's symbols. Similarly, the shield and the cover symbols on action cards will negate either heavy range damage or range damage. And then lastly, it's only a shield action that can be used in defence to mitigate the damage from an area attack. So every time you use a character action card, you can only use it for one purpose, be it movement, attack or defence, and then that card is discarded. Now we've also got wild cards, and this top symbol means that if you play it, you can move any one of your characters that has been revealed. Remember, you can reveal any one of your characters at any part of your turn. The second symbol means you're going to be able to immediately draw 2 cards, and this last symbol means you're going to be able to interrupt the active player's turn. So whenever you are playing, you need to pause for a moment to allow your opponents to potentially interrupt, but you can only do so after that player's had at least one action. You can even then interrupt the interrupter, and if that happens, then that person effectively loses the rest of their turn, because once the last person to interrupt finishes their actions and doesn't draw cards as if it was a normal turn, play will pass back to the active player. So in terms of line of sight concepts, well, first and foremost, you need to be able to draw a straight line between the core circled number in the middle of each tile to the tile that you're targeting. So here, Conrad could not draw a straight line without going through a wall to the number 10 core tile here. And now the second concept in this basic dungeon that you have to be aware of is that tiles are either in cover or not in cover. Now tiles with the white numbered black circle means that Edith and Conrad here, for example, are in covered tiles. However, the black numbered ones with the white circles are not in cover. Now you can see into and out of a tile that's in cover, but you cannot see through a tile that's in cover. So how do we win the game? Well, to knock out your opponent's character, you need to play the player that does the last point of damage to one of your opponent's characters. And on each character card, you can see the health that they have in the top right hand corner. You can also collect your own coloured crystal shards, and to do so you need to have a character in the same tile, and then you need to be able to discard 3 cards with that character's symbol in to collect a shard. However, you can also use wild cards with any character to contribute to those 3. Now play continues like that, with each player having a turn and then passing to their left until the first player to get 5 points is named the victor. So that's how this game plays. What did I think of it? So who is this game for? Well, it's light to medium weight because it's pretty straightforward to get to the table, and there's only so much depth on offer. If you love beautiful miniatures and games that go the extra mile for theme to immerse you into the experience, then this has both those things. If you like the idea of card-based actions, and perhaps, God forbid, you're even allergic to dice, then there's probably something here for you. So you might want to consider this if you liked the Warhammer Underworld series, published by Games Workshop, or Mythic Battles, Pantheon, published by Monolith and Mythic Games. So in terms of gameplay, well, there's a refreshingly simple and elegant setup process here, especially for a miniatures game. It's going to be no time at all before you're all into the fray. Gameplay itself is fairly straightforward, and this is an exceptionally easy one to learn. However, there's sufficient depth to provide a rewarding experience. Now, it's probably a good thing that there are those 2 options to gain points. You might want to go full pacifist and just go treasure hunting, or you might want to engage that inner psychopath and start moidering your opponent's characters. The amount of different actions you can take on your turn provide for a great deal of strategy. However, that also brings me to my first negative comment about the game. The actions on each of the cards felt a little bit disjointed with the miniatures on the board. So it was difficult for me to say, oh well, that card allows me to move that guy there, this one allows me to shoot that guy with him, and so I was constantly losing my train of thought. Now that could be a fault of the cards and the way they're displayed, or perhaps the miniatures could have done with being numbered. However, there is a third choice. That's just me being not particularly bright. Which brings me to my last point, that being the need to play patiently and allow for your opponents to interrupt. Now that perfectly suits my gameplay style because I like to be deliberate about what I'm doing and I like to communicate with everyone what I'm doing. So that will always give my opponents the opportunity to interrupt. But if you're that sort of person that wants to go, yeah, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that and then I'm going to your go, then you're certainly going to have to adapt to this. So in terms of the look and feel and theme of the game, well, I'm going to give it 3 thumbs up. Yes, 3 thumbs up because everything on offer here is superb. Now let's start with the pre-shaded minis. Not only are the miniatures beautiful, but that pre-shading gives it a leg up on pretty much most other board games out there. Now I don't know how much that process cost, but in my opinion it was well worth it. And the artwork style on the box, and more importantly on the board, is both vibrant and attractive, and really does a good job of immersing you into that set piece. The theme is fairly surface level, but you can see a great deal of attention to detail has been put into each faction's quirks and motivations. So with all that being said, Dice vs Cards are going to give a final score to Wildlands of 7 out of 10. Now although I've been pretty glowing about most parts of this game, those gameplay shortcomings do prohibit from getting that higher score. However, if you are attracted to all the wonderful production quality on offer here and like this fast-paced gameplay mechanics and trying to do things a little bit differently, then you're going to absolutely adore this game. However, that's it from me. I'll see you next time.